Eric, let's talk about the GOAT, in my opinion, and I don't want to have this argument here on this. I don't want to have this argument here on this podcast. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time, period. That's the end of the story. The GOAT is going to be partnering up here. Oh, boy. Adam. That'll be for the LSR+++ podcast that we'll record a little bit later. But big news coming out with LeBron James.
Yeah, wherever you have him on the pantheon of basketball greats,
he's on the Mount Rushmore.
He is certainly number one right now, active, and not just a sports icon, but a pop culture icon, and now is a member of the DraftKings family. I think this was probably surprising to you guys, surprising to me when we saw this news drop yesterday that LeBron James is now an ambassador, partner, team member, employee of DraftKings, however you want to phrase it. This is going to oddly lead to some weekly football picks that LeBron's going to do for the DraftKings community, probably some content. Basketball will be off limits for as long as he is an active NBA player, but there's some things to think about in the future there. My brain goes to LeBron's other business ventures that DraftKings now may have sort of an avenue to get its way into that in the future. Really just, I could talk for a long time, but it's hard to think of a bigger name or a bigger deal in sports betting. This is really the GOAT of sports betting deals as well. So, big news in the social world of sports betting yesterday.
Adam, when we take a look at this, and when I saw, it was pretty shocking to me as well. But you look, and it does make you wonder. The deal, everybody knows the end of the line for LeBron is fairly soon, right? I mean, so this is not we're making a deal with a current player. This is like, hey, look, we're really going to try to leverage this once LeBron retires, which might be this year. I mean, we don't know. It could be the end of the season for all we know as they move forward with all of this. And like you look at LeBron, and if you talk about as a spokesperson, a pitch person, and I know there are LeBron haters out there, and I don't even get it. Because if you look, as far as like guys who have kind of kept their nose clean and really never had any sort of controversy around them for any sort of anything for as long as his career has been, if you think like long term, like who's a guy we want to attach our brand to as we kind of move into the next phase of his career, which would be as a non-player, LeBron, Patrick Mahomes, like whatever, it's a pretty short list, and certainly LeBron would be up there.
Yesterday on Twitter, I saw one newsletter writer / self-styled gaming analyst say, "Oh, am I the only one who was waiting for LeBron James football picks to decide which sportsbook to sign up for?" Hey, Joker, do you understand the reach that this guy has? Do you understand just the exposure play for DraftKings beyond anything else here? We're talking about 53 million Twitter followers and more than 3 times that on Instagram. Yeah. Just the access to that many people to have your name in front of someone is worth this for DraftKings. And I know we have spent a lot of time talking about what is the value of celebrity endorsements. Look, this is not your average celebrity endorsement. This is a guy who is a billionaire businessman. And that, as Eric referenced, is part of what is really important to understand. LeBron James has an empire when it comes to business in the way that Magic Johnson has an empire when it comes to business. He's not just someone where you attach the name and go. He's someone who has a team around him that is very good at leveraging his brand for profit. And you talk about what he has. Look at Uninterrupted and some of the production that he does on his own. What access could a DraftKings potentially have to that with the DraftKings network in the long run? I don't know. We'll find out more about this partnership as it plays out. The interesting thing to me that I think is not the flip side to it, but something to keep in mind is that it was only a couple of months ago that we found out that Maverick Carter, who is one of LeBron James' closest associates, got in some trouble, had actually testified as part of the Wayne Knicks bookie case that back in 2021, he had placed a handful of illegal wagers, said that he never talked to LeBron about anything that was involved in that. They've been able to seemingly wash that away pretty quickly, but I think it speaks to the star power of LeBron James and his ability to keep his nose clean, and the fact that he has kept everything clean for so long that LeBron felt comfortable signing this kind of partnership with a sports book when the news of one of his closest associates being involved with illegal sports betting had been broken just a couple of months ago. It shows the power of what that brand ultimately is.
And Eric, look, I mean, we sit here and we give our opinions on things and we do whatever. And like, we should bring this up. Like, if you look at some of these athlete partnerships that we've seen with some of the sports books, with Gronk on the FanDuel side and the Mannings with the Caesar side of things, whatever, LeBron appeals to a different demographic than those guys do. Like, this is a, hey man, I see what everyone else is doing. Let's think outside the box here and see what, could happen if we kind of go in this direction with all that stuff. And this is nothing against Gronk, and I think he's great. And, if you like that kind of goofy, whatever stuff, and like, obviously the Mannings are great with all of that as well. But LeBron certainly speaks to a different demographic than they do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different, I guess, just because it's LeBron, but I never had a thought of potential impropriety. We've had some of these deals come up in the past. Connor McDavid, my first thought is, do we really need an active an NHL player, endorsing a sports book?
Yep.
For some reason, none of those thoughts come up with LeBron. He has kept his nose clean. He's on his way out the door in the next couple years. I just think he's probably everything you want for as a spokesperson, besides his basketball abilities and his social media following. He is mature and well-spoken about social issues, has all these other business ventures going on. Just is the number one human you'd want to partner with if you're DraftKings. So, shout out to them. Big. That's a really big get for J-Rob and the crew over there. Can't imagine what sort of dollars we're talking about being involved in that. But impressive stuff.
All right, Adam, I'm going to circle this thing back all the way around full circle before we get out of here. Eric said $170 million for Nevada for the Super Bowl. Over, under?
Oh boy, I'm going to take over because of the whale factor.
Yes.
The trick to this in the end is something that a smart person in the business told me almost 2 years ago at this point. 90% of the revenue comes from 10% of the players. A disproportionate amount of the 10% of players is going to be in the state of Nevada. And so I'll be really curious when they break this down if it's something like 180 in Nevada and like 30% on mobile, right? Like, this is going to be one of those that is almost all over the counter.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting for me. I am going to take the over as well, strictly because, and I know it's not apples to apples. We're talking about table game stuff, and it's way easier to drop a ton of money doing that. But I just saw the F1 factor and what it had at the casinos and all of that, and that is kind of the same principle here of let's get as many whales into the same place as possible, and then you don't want to get outdone by that guy who doesn't want to get outdone by that guy, and that guy's betting 10,000 a hand, so you're betting 15,000 a hand, and all, whatever. And there's a little bit of that's going to be going on as well. Somebody's going to announce that they put $1 million bet on whoever, and someone's going to have to put $1.5 million, and someone's going to, whatever. It's just kind of going to be a lot of that stuff as well. So I will also take the over on that. We will see. Of course, those numbers do come out. We'll be able to see whether me and Adam were right or wrong on all that. As always, everything we do, absolutely free. We do appreciate your support. If you go ahead, subscribe, rate, review, do appreciate that. If you're watching us over on the video side of things, hit that subscribe button down there as well. Apple, Spotify, Google on the podcast side of things. Everywhere that you get your podcast, we are there. The words to all of these stories that we talk about here over on LegalSportsReport.com. Take in all the words Adam and company are doing over there. For Adam, for Eric, I'm Matt. Talk to you guys next week.